Welcome to Everything Health, produced by the A. Philip Randolph Institute. This evening, we'll be discussing healthcare in America. So please sit back and enjoy, and at any time during the show, you can post a question by simply using the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your Zoom application. And your question could be featured during our Q&A segment later in the show. Once again, welcome, and sit back and enjoy as we start the show.
Good evening, A. Philip Randolph Institute family and friends. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for another segment about Everything Health webinar. Tonight's program will certainly be a very tasteful event with a tasteful twist to our discussion as we embark on the discovery of everything healthy with the guidance of our guest, Sister Catherine Brown. And now most of you probably figured out by now that I am not our president, Cleola Brown. She got called away on another assignment this evening. And so I am doing my best to fill in for her. I'm Fred Mason, a member of the National Executive Board. And so I will try to do her.
Hey, I'm on my way downtown with Devin now.
Okay. Sister Brown, Catherine Brown, is well recognized as an expert in the Baltimore area, in the area of fitness and wellness. She has more than 20 years of experience in the health industry, and 10 years of her work was at the Greater Baltimore Medical Center. After providing great services to other employers, she ventured out and formed her own company, entrepreneurship, CB Lifestyle Coaching. And I apologize because we probably did a slight disservice to Sister Brown by identifying her in the flyer as Chef Brown. Well, she is much more than a chef. She is a wellness strategist. She helps folks strategize and define a wellness plan that includes nutrition, exercise, and staying fit. So, okay, if I call you Catherine?
Sure, Mr. Mason.
Okay, so Catherine, we're looking forward to hearing from you on some of these things that I just identified: wellness, fitness, nutrition, and basically eating right. So right now you have our undivided attention.
Thank you. Good evening to all. And it's I am excited about being here and delivering what I truly believe is my purpose and my passion. As Mr. Mason shared, yes, I am a wellness strategist. My venture began on GBMC as a cardiac tech and realizing that that wasn't my calling. So I ventured out and became in the health field and wanting to prevent individuals that I saw, mostly a lot of African Americans that were involved in having different types of heart problems, seeing heart attacks, COPD, all the things that go along with some with poor health as well as can be genetic. So I ventured into the health industry and realizing that an individual seeking the service of a personal trainer sometimes lose their interest because part of it is nutrition, not seeing results, and not having all of the answers to how what I call is your engine, how does it function? So it's more to the equation than exercise, nutrition, and the third pillar is the culinary. So I give thanks to my clients for what for me, watching the challenges and helping me to elevate myself to get to the point of having an interest, consistent interest in educating myself in all three of those pillars to be able to provide a service for an individual seeking to make changes, just general lifestyle changes, as well as health changes as it applied to underlying chronic health problems. And that's just a little bit of my background and further from my bio. So one of the things that we don't realize, we do have two plates in life. We say we have one because we always been taught about the edible plate, but we have the non-edible plate. The non-edible plate has more major impact on us than the edible plate. And that primary plate is our spiritual, emotional, intellectual, physical, social, environmental, and finances. Because all of these plates feed us, but it feeds us from an external aspect that has an impact on our internal. Wellness is the complete well-being of your behavior. And that behavior process is your physical, mental, and your social. The social aspect has a very strong impact on your mental and your physical. Lifestyle management and changes everything. We seldom realize that nutrition and fitness has an impact on all of the underlying chronic health issues. Obesity leads to heart attack with the nutrition that we eat. Obesity also leads to diabetes. Obesity also leads to cancer, cholesterol, and hypertension, as well as some of these can be genetically inherited. But part of changing or looking at our behavior as it applies to the lack of exercise and the lack of eating, having a well-balanced and eating a healthy diet. So let's look at obesity. And the African American, we are number one with obesity. Heart attack, cancer, hypertension, cholesterol, and various types of cancer. Stress also plays a trigger part that can be the onset of elevation of cortisol levels, to be the onset of diabetes, cancer, and hypertension. But all of these underlying chronic health issues can be eliminated or prevent the onset of through just two simple prescriptions, which is physical fitness and nutrition. Behaviorism influences your health, making the right personal decision. Socialization. We get caught up in our social environment, that our social environment can definitely have an impact in our decision process. Lifestyle choices, bad lifestyle factors. So sometimes we know what to do, what is correct, what is right to do, but we choose not to do it. Do we ask ourselves why? We have those, those choices of knowing the difference between poor quality of eating versus good quality of eating. What is a balanced meal? What is an unbalanced meal? Taking in excessive amount of processed food, having an abundance of sugar. All of these things are poor decision-making and have an impact on our lifestyle and our health. So going back to how did I come into being a wellness strategist and helping individuals out that seeks my service, and realizing that the exercise is very, very important. Nutrition is very important. The one missing component was understanding the cooking. So let's talk about exercise management. We know we can go to the gym and we can exercise, but do you know the proper exercise formula for yourself? Do you know what your limitations are as far as your biomechanics? Are you ready to perform a certain type of exercise? Are you on any type of medication? Will that medication have an impact on your exercise? Do you know your strength curve? Your heart rate? What is your target heart rate? What intensity should you be training at? All of those are very, very important. Nutrition, we have always looked at our plate and saying, we have a carbohydrate, we have a protein, and we have a carbohydrate, a protein, and a vegetable. It is so much more to understanding nutrition. Nutrition is a science just as well as exercise management. It's a difference between working out and having a proper exercise program that's designed, personalized for what your needs are. Each one of us may be at a certain age, in a certain age group, but our heart rate is not the same. So should we be training at the same intensity? No. Our flexibility, as we age, we lack flexibility if we're not doing anything. We lose our range of motion. We lose bone density. We lose muscle mass. So it's very, very important to exercise, to continue to keep the body strong, to have for your heart to be strong. It's just essential overall for the body. It's essential overall for the body itself. Same thing is the body needs the nutrition, because as you exercise, you are using that energy from the food for the body to sustain and be able to perform those exercises. Nutrition is just so much more important than what we look at it. We are addicts to food because we either are a good addict, meaning having good dietary habits, or we are addicted to the food and a sense of eating, having poor choices. Cooking is so important because when we cook, we're in the kitchen and we don't even think of the littlest things that apply to cooking that breaks the nutrition value, that we know we're consuming food, but we don't know if we are consuming the valuable nutrients that we need for our body to continue to function. We're taking in the calories, but are the calories that we're consuming giving us the vitamins and minerals that the body needs? Exercise, as I explained earlier, the benefits of exercising is to continue to keep your bone density, strengthen your muscles so you don't lose muscle mass, flexibility for your range of motion, and continue to keep your organs strong. Proper exercise regimen, knowing what exercises are for what muscle groups. Do you need to train in a certain parameter, meaning do you have to go in and work every muscle group, or are some muscle groups being worked with particular exercise? So you may have a exercise like a push-up, which is a total body exercise. It is working your shoulders, your back, your chest, and your cores, your quadriceps, and your hamstrings. You also, when you do a plank is once again, it is working on your stamina and your endurance and your core. So with certain exercises and that you should perform as far as having a set regimen, meaning how do you warm up? What is a proper warm up? Do I stretch before I begin to strength train? Where does my cardiovascular play in? What type of exercise should I do for cardiovascular? If you have any underlying health issues, if you're a diabetic, do I check my sugar prior to beginning to exercise? Do I have something with me while I am exercising? What muscle groups do I exercise if I am a diabetic first? If you have hypertension, do I exercise and doing more cardiovascular versus strength training? It should be starting off with your cardiovascular for someone that has hypertension. Do I do any exercise that do elevations above my head? All of your exercises for hypertension shouldn't be anything above your head until you get your hypertension under control. Cholesterol should be more cardiovascular, and strength training plays secondary. As well as the strength training, knowing what repetition, what is your weights, all of that is very, very important. And a professional would know that because we do proper assessments on you. The timing, what is the duration of what your exercise session should be? What is the timing of time under tension when it comes to your strength training? The intensity, should it be low intensity or high intensity? The intensity also can have it when it comes to cardiovascular versus when it comes to strength training. The frequency in your training can be how often should you exercise throughout the week, as well as how many reps and sets should you do while you are exercising. Various modalities. We seldom think that when we go to the gym, we have to get on the equipment. You should always use various modalities that's going to challenge your body in a manner of working on your balance, working at multiple muscle groups. So some of those various modalities would be a physio ball, a BOSU. And this equipment is equipment that you can invest in and have in your home as well. You don't really have to be in a gym setting all the time. You can always have Mother Nature or the environment of your home to be able to exercise. Light dumbbells, TheraBands, all of those are a form of various modalities that you can use in a training session and have an effective workout. Body weight exercises as well. So exercising is very, very important. It's not something that you want to limit yourself in the mindset of saying that you have to be in the means of a fitness arena. A fitness arena does help you out with a little bit with your socialization because the people there have similar goals, but we all are there to either to get in better shape or healthier means.
Catherine, I had the opportunity to preview some excellent slides that you had in the PowerPoint presentation. Are we going to be able to share that with the audience this evening?
Okay, are you not seeing the slides on your end?
No.
Oh, you're not. What happened?
Dave. Okay, I need help answering that question.
Okay, because I am. Okay, I see you, and you don't see my
slides.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, yeah. You're just click on share, and you're going to share your screen.
I thought. Okay, so. Why wasn't I thought I was sharing it the whole time? Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, I am so sorry. I
No,
thought,
that's all right. That's all right. Second time would just be better.
okay.
Very good.
Okay. Don't know
Brothers
what
and sisters can
happened.
always work it out. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. So, okay, so I'll just scroll through the slides, and my apology. For some reason, I thought, Mr. Manson, you should have, I was far along, you should have came through and said, Catherine, we can't see your slides. Okay.
But we can just
Okay. All right, so
run through
I'm
them.
gonna go through it so they can see the presentation, okay? Because a lot of very visual. So as I discussed earlier, this is our primary plate. We have always, looked upon that we have one plate, and that one plate is the plate that feeds us. But we actually have two plates that feeds us. We have an edible plate, which is the plate we plate our food on, and we consume that. And we have a non-edible plate. So this plate is the plate that feeds us, that's a non-edible. So you have your physical, your social, environmental, financial, spiritual, emotional, and intellectual. All of this, as well as, it's not on here, but relationships. This is our primary plate that until we have a balance with this plate, we sometimes struggle, or we do struggle a lot trying to get to just to that physical and balance and nutrition. Because what happens is, if anything is impeding upon us, our mindset, mentally, it pulls us away to find reasons that we cannot, or we will not focus on the nutrition and being consistent with the physical aspect of it. So wellness is where you are, want to be complete and whole on the physical, the mental, and the social. So the social plays a big role on our behavior, our thinking process, and our action. So if you're not in an environment that's feeding you socially for the health of your mental and your physical, then it becomes more of what I want to say, that you're not balanced, and you begin to struggle to try to get over to the side of being healthy, unless you have come to the point where you're determined, that determination that you will be able to move forward and live in a healthy lifestyle. So I'll use an example, and I'll use myself as an example. My social circle was a very strong social circle, meaning everyone was about eating healthy. The conversations was about the food that we consume, accountability. Did you work out today? What type of exercises did you do? That's feeding me to stay on task. My clients need me to feed them. Where if their environment is not as balanced, then it becomes a struggle, that things like work may be pulling you and say, I can't make my appointment, or my finances, that we think that eating healthy is expensive. In reality, it's not eating expensive. Stress plays on our mental health and how we think. Lack of sleep, all of this is feeding our internal aspect. As I get further in the presentation, I say that it's a garden. Internally in our body, we have a garden that we are feeding, and we're feeding it either healthy or unhealthy. So as I spoke earlier, and I'm just going to recap and briefly go through it, all of these underlying chronic health issues has an impact on our health that we can either prevent the onset on it or delay the onset. So if it's genetic, we can delay the onset by the decision and choices that we make in primary and the things that we consume, and secondary by having some form of trying to do some type of active exercise regimen and becoming more physically compliant with having balance and doing some type of exercises. So nutrition has a role in all of these. Heart attack, I have this little analogy that I use. Over a duration of time, we eat a lot of fried food. So fried food is, most of the time, the oil is a type of a saturated fat. So we're eating that food, and you have, it's like a little deposit of clump of fat here on this side of the artery, clump on this side, and then over a longevity time period, that fat has come to a point where it's solid. So now the blood is not able to flow through the arteries the way that it should, and it's leaking, that it now is stressing the heart and puts us up for a potential of a heart attack or a stroke. Hypertension and diabetes. Hypertension is also, once again, has an impact on your heart. Diabetes, you have different types. You have type 1, you have type 2, and type 2 are the ones more or less that we can control through exercise and the foods that we choose to eat, as well as having a balance or making different choices in our lifestyle. Cancer is something that is more, can be genetic. It can be consumed by, it can be the onset of our environment, as well as the food that we eat. Cholesterol, once again, it comes from, can be genetic and consuming over duration, the type of food that we eat. Stress is an outside factor that has an impact that can onset heart attack. Stress can onset by the elevation of cortisol levels, diabetes, hypertension. So all of these are what we look at as the 5 underlying health issues that we do have some control of by making lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes comes from making changes in your behavior, and it does influence your health. So making the right personal decisions. What are some of the right personal decisions to make? Is the time now to make the decision to walk the journey of making better choices and decisions when it comes to your lifestyle? Or do you wait for the physician to inform you the do's and don'ts of what can happen if you don't make those decisions to make changes? Your socialization, once again, that definitely has an impact on your lifestyle. So if you look at who you affiliate yourself with and the decisions they make and the types of food that they eat, and you feel uncomfortable and you're eating that food, that is having an impact on your health, where you're making that, but I want to say, contemplating or pre-contemplating to make that change, but it's a struggle because of your social circle, where some of us may be made that lifestyle change, and we can sit there and our friends and families will sit around and be consuming, but we're having that plate of food and we're being perfectly content that we made that decision, that we're making a change in our eating habits. It's one of the things that have even strengthened me in my journey of nutrition, is those who have went before me that always said that they never thought that food would be the cause of their underlying health issues that would make them to the point where they were leaving here. My father was one, and it was another gentleman that was very, very dear to me, and a girlfriend that they were diagnosed with cancer, but they didn't make those changes in their dietary habits. They continued to eat a lot of high fatty foods, high sodium, processed foods, all those things that do have an impact on our overall health. So we have to make decisions to make better lifestyle choices. Bad lifestyle choices over longevity does have an impact on our health, and breaks our health down. That we are here to live a valuable and a long life, as long as God provides us to be here, but we shorten it by the choices that we make. So the three important pillars that I have found in my journey of working with my clients are the internal pillars that lead to a healthy you. The physical exercise, the physical portion, which is an exercise management, the nutrition, understanding the basics, because nutrition and exercise is a science. And one of the things that has happened in our industry when it comes to on both the nutrition and the exercise portion is that there's so many various exercises out there, but all exercises are not meant for everyone to endure. The same thing with nutrition. We can make various changes or go on these various diets. It is so many different diets out there, and they are trends. You're going to see some results. Will the results be a weight loss? Yes. But is this dietary change or this diet that you decide to go on, is it a temporary fix, or is it something that you are going to do, you can live with it for a lifestyle? Because nutrition is very, very scientific. So what might agree with me may not agree with you. The calories that I consume may not be the calories that you should consume. So let me go back to physical exercise, because I know I'm jumping around and I spoke on it earlier. So physical exercise, the three things that you want to be able to make sure you get in is cardiovascular, strength training, and flexibility. As we age, we lose flexibility, which is the range of motion. We get stiff, muscles tighten up, we lose bone density, we lose strength. As we age, as young as 30, our metabolism starts to decrease. And all of those previous chronic underlying health issues that I shared in the previous are metabolic syndrome that has an impact as well on your metabolic system. So it's important as we age, it's more important as we age that we should be doing some form of some type of exercise, and knowing, having the proper exercise prescription for you. So one of the things that I do with my clients, I do a physical assessment on them. And in that physical assessment, I want to know what is your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, your flexibility. And then I want to know what is your body able to do as far as when it comes to the strength training. From that, I also look at your biomechanics, because you may be off balance and don't realize it. Your posture, you have weak muscle groups. So if you look at your muscles may be weak, and I'll use women as example. We do a squat. So when we do a squat, first thing we probably ready to load the body up with some weights and do a squat, looking that our knees buckle in, and we rotate our pelvic forward instead of rotating our pelvic back. That right there shows two signs of either muscle tightness, lacking muscle strength, or poor posterior chain, which meaning that you have weakness down there that needs to be strengthened before you can progress into that type of exercise. So those are the things that a proper assessment then saying, okay, let's do a squat. You can start off with a body squat, a body weight squat, and learning knowing the proper form and technique. Strength training, knowing where your strength curve is at. How many reps, how many sets should you do? The cardiovascular the cardiovascular, for some reason we have in our mind that we need to do an hour of cardio. You don't have to do an hour cardio. You can get in like 30 minutes of cardiovascular. And once again, it's the intensity of the type of cardio, the equipment that you are utilizing for the exercise for getting the cardiovascular in. But all of those are very, very important and should be a part of your exercise program, is the cardiovascular, the strength training, and your flexibility. Nutrition is important when it comes to exercising, as well as in your general and your lifestyle. Exercise is knowing the proper amount of calories, but then you don't sometimes have to do a calorie count. We fixated in our mind that we have to do a calorie count. So if you're an athlete, then you need to know a little bit more, because you're going to need to consume more calories as far as protein, carbs, and your vegetables. But it's important to know the timing of when you're going to eat, what type of vegetables and protein, the cooking, what are the vitamins and minerals, because the vitamins and minerals is what's actually feeding you in those nutrition. We're just used to looking at a plate of food and saying, okay, I have the protein, I have my collard greens, and I have my rice. But you want to, when you look at the plate, I want you to look at, after the night, look at that plate and ask yourself, how is this food benefiting my health? So once I consume it and it's on my palate, it goes beyond my throat, down into my esophagus, and begin a churning process to break the food down. The protein broke down into the stomach, your carbohydrates are in your intestines, and then the nutrients are secreted out into the bloodstream to feed those organs, which is those little, those little organs are different little villages in your body that needs this healthy nutrients to come in to keep it healthy. And keeping it healthy all comes into play, as well as in cooking, how and what to cook. And I went over the benefits of exercising. It's, the bone density, your flexibility, your strength. The one thing that I didn't really highly speak on is to keep your metabolic system healthy as well. Keep your metabolic system, increasing it, as well as the food that you consume, being able to utilize that energy. Proper exercise regimen, I spoke about that. The timing can be timing of being in your exercise regimen should be, because sometimes we go to the gym and we spend 1-2 hours in it. That's excessively too much time to be in the gym working out. Timing can be also, how much time should I do throughout the week? The intensity is the how high of intensity do you want to be? Something fast paced, which we call a HIIT technique, or something low, which once again, if you have any of those underlying health issues, that should play a role in understanding what type of exercises you should be doing, and preparation, the timing, intensity, and frequency. The various modalities helps you out. As we age, we need to work on our balance, because because our flexibility is not there, we lose balance. As well as using various modalities. You don't have to do a lot of strength training. What I'm saying is, what I want to use as a good exercise, being on a physio ball. So being on a physio ball, you could be on a physio ball and using some dumbbells and doing curls. Well, being on a physio ball, you're actually incorporating every muscle in your body is at a point that is under stress, it's under tension, because why? It has to balance you and keep you stabilized on that physio ball. Physio ball is an excellent tool to, to use under safety. If you don't have balance, then we can have the little beams that you place the physio ball down in, and you don't have to roll. It won't roll from under you. But it is an excellent tool for, as well as working various muscle groups, and also targeting your core. Okay, the everything healthy on the nutrition part, essential of a healthy meal. So we have, and once again, I say nutrition is a science, and I'm just hitting just the tip of it. You, in a healthy meal, you have your whole grains. So some of the things that if I go out and do a cooking demo, especially targeting towards us as African Americans, I do grains that we're not accustomed to eating, like quinoa, teff, barley, to show you that it's other grains out there that we haven't been introduced to that we can add into our diet that gives way more nutrition value than just eating basics of rice. Quinoa example. Quinoa is one of the grains that's very high in amino acids, which is a protein, as well as it does have carbohydrates in it because it's a grain, but it's one of the, what I want to say, one of the high grains that is actually a seed, but it falls in the grain family that has a lot of protein in it. Your vegetables. Your vegetables has protein in it, but it's a small amount of protein in it. Your vegetables also has fiber in it that we need the fiber in our diet. Fruits. Your fruits is a natural sugar and it's a healthy sugar. So you have different types of sugars that fall under the unhealthy category and the healthy category. Your grains and your vegetable and your fruits, once it's in the bloodstream and you break down, it converts and break down into what we call a glucose. So it does elevate your blood levels because of the sugar content that's in it. Your protein, you want lean choices of meat. So when we get that, and I'll use beef as example, we look at that meat and we see all that marble in it. Well, that's good, but it's not good. So the reason why it's good because all of that marble is that fat that gives that beef that nice juicy texture and that good flavor. But that is a fat that we don't want to be consuming. What I want to say, we want to consume a lot of. The fat on the chicken, on our poultry, is the same thing. That fat is what we say, the fat that breaks down and gives our food that flavor. So even if you were cooking the chicken and you want to cook it with the fat on it, so that moisture from that fat from it can give that chicken that flavor, but don't eat the skin. Because sometimes what we do, we eat skinless chicken, but then we go back and we might put some ghee butter on it, some olive oil. So we just took the natural flavor of the fat off the chicken, and then we go back and we put more fat on it. So why not cook it with the skin on it, and that gets a natural flavor from the chicken. But you want to eat lean sources of protein, which would be your salmon that has the healthy omegas in it, the healthy fats in it, your chicken and beef. I say for a female, it's okay to have beef once in a while, but not, especially if you're in that childbearing, because we lose iron as we have our menstrual cycle. So the beef helps to replenish it, as well as spinach, the vegetable, helps us with our iron levels. Your protein source and plant-based sources. So your once again, in all of your vegetables, you have you have protein in it. Plant-based, physicians are more now pushing plant-based diets. And why are they pushing more plant-based diets? Because it's healthier, it's easier for us to digest. Once again, the fiber that's in it is more beneficial for your health, and you're not really having to worry too much about high cholesterol or blockage in the arteries because of the plant-based diet. You can also get your teff, your tofu, to help to increase the protein in your diet. But yes, we look at vegetables and don't think that we are getting any type of protein source, but every vegetable has protein in it. It's just a small amount of protein. Water is important. Our body is made up of 75% of water. It helps out with the flow of our blood, as well as the plasma. It keeps your body, you're lubricated. So you need to get that water in it, keeping you hydrated as well too. When we have our urine, if your urine is concentrated, highly concentrated, then you're not hydrated enough. If your urine does not have any coloring, that's the sign of saying that, yes, you consumed enough water. But you also have to watch out for the consumption of water as well, because if you have any underlying health issues that, what I want to say, with edema or heart problems, that your water intake, or even kidney, that you might not, they might have a little bit restriction. So once again, if you do have any health issues that you want to, seek your physician's advice on how much water that you should consume. And eating is very, very therapeutic. It helps us mentally and physically. We feel better because why? If you're eating a lot of high-fatty foods and you're not exercising, and you go walk those flight of stairs and you get up to the top and you feel like, oh, I'm winded or I'm tired, that's not a good sign. But if you're eating, making changes in your dietary habits and your exercise, and you don't have that feeling of fatigue or feeling stressed, it builds you up, and your self-esteem, your image, and everything. So it makes us feel good mentally and physically. It supplies, food supplies energy, and that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to supply energy to the body, but we allow our five senses to consume us, that if we see it, we want to eat it. If we smell it, it draws us to it and we want to consume it. If we hear the sound of food cooking, we want to go wherever we see that food, we want to be in that presence of it. So we want to learn that we just need to consume enough food for the energy of supplying our body and not overdoing the consuming of the food. It supports growth, maintenance, repairs, and builds a healthy body, which is internally, as far as the cells in our body, and the organs in our body. So now we want to talk about nutrition value. All food is not equal. So if we were to shop at Wegmans versus Trader Joe, and you have, I'll use kale. We don't know who the supplier was and how did their soil, what was going on with the soil. So the nutrition value in the soil plays a role on the food that we consume. So we don't really know exactly what is going on with agriculture, which is a whole different category of the food before it gets right into the market. So it's a lot of process that food loses its nutrition value. So the degree of the maturity of the harvest, did they pull the harvest before the food was ripe? Did they inject it with any type of preservatives to preserve it because of the shipment, the transportation of, like, let's use bananas. Bananas comes from the coast. So bananas is injected with a preservative to hold the maturity of it, that it doesn't overripe by the time it gets here to the market for us to purchase. The storage, how was the food stored? Was it frozen? And then, like fish, they said we get fresh fish. So was the fish frozen? And then they put it out and tell us it's fresh, but it was previously frozen. So the storage, all of that has a process, has a play in the nutrition value of our food. the cooking process. The cooking process is the biggest thing that where we lose our nutrition value. So as I was speaking to Mr. Mason earlier, and he was sharing with me about the broccoli. Broccoli, green beans, kale, and collard is one of the things that we overcook and we lose the nutrients from it, that the nutrients is in the liquid. So let's talk about the cooking process or different types of cooking process. Steaming your food. You don't necessarily have to have a steamer. So going out and purchasing all of that extra cooking ware, we don't really have need. You can use a colander, put a little bit of liquid water in the bottom of the pan, put the colander in, put the vegetables in there, a lid. If the lid has a opening in it, then you seal the lid. If it doesn't, you want to crack the lid to let the steam evaporate out, because what happens is the acid from the food hits the lid, it drops back down, and then on top of it, we're overcooking it and we're losing our nutrition value. And that goes for broccoli, green beans, carrots, kale, or collards. If you don't have a colander, you can just put a little bit of liquids in the bottom of the pan. I would say fill it like a quarter of the pan, place your vegetables in there, and just let it cook into what we say in the culinary al dente, that is tender. When you have broken the cells down on the vegetables, now the vegetables, you have lost your nutrition value, mostly that's in the stock. And that's what we really want the food for, is to get the nutrients out of it.
So Catherine, one of the other things that we mentioned was the economics of the food. And I was reminded, recently I saw in the store collard greens, $1.69 a pound.
Okay.
And one of the first things that I do a lot of times is go home and cut off the stems that probably weigh about a third of the weight of the collard greens.
Okay.
And just throw them away.
And that's a no-no.
And do the same thing with broccoli.
And the same thing with cauliflower as well. And that's a no-no. Okay. So, and even with our herbs as well too.
Okay.
So let's look at that vegetable. When the vegetable is rooted, the roots are given the nutrients in the stem, and the stem is growing and going into the florets. So all of your nutrients are right there in the stem. It's not in the leaf part of the vegetable. So you can, what we say repurpose, is just cut those stems up and place it right back in your vegetables, or you can cook it and puree it and use it in a soup.
And I just got to notice that we have about 6 minutes left, and I do want to give the audience the time to get some questions in. So please put your questions in the Q&A or the chat, and identify your name and your location, and we will try to address as many questions or comments as possible. Okay.
And I'm gonna keep moving. And know your purveyors. So know, where your food came from. Even in your farm, when you're sustainability food, your farmers, question them about the quality of the soil, the pesticides that they used on the food, the type of pesticides. And that's really the difference between organic versus non-organic, because organic food still has some form of pesticide. It's just an organic type of pesticide. And after longevity of it, it still has an impact overall on our health. So when it comes to cooking, I say cook with love, because when you are cooking, you're feeding your garden, and your garden is those organs that's internally in our body that helps to keep us here on earth. So cooking methods can destroy the vitamins, minerals, as I stated earlier. Some of the reasons why is because the exposure to the heat, the light, the pH, and the temperature. So the pH of the food, you have acid, as I stated, or alkaline, and in the cooking process, it changes the pH of it. The temperature that we cook our food with, that also is breaking down the cells on it. Temperature also play into, like I said, the heat. Pay close attention to the timing. Healthy cooking techniques, you don't really need a lot of longevity in cooking. Choices of techniques is baking, broiling, poaching, and steaming. And you see, I don't have grilling on here. So if you're doing a stovetop grill or George Foreman, that's fine. A grill where you have charcoal or electric grill is a form of chemical that we are ingesting unless you are putting some type of coating on top of your grill. So meaning, are you using a pan and grilling? Are you putting some type of aluminum foil? If you placing the food directly to the grill, that charcoal is cooking, those chemicals is cooking into your food. If you use a gas grill, once again, that gas is cooking into your food. Shop for fruits and vegetables in season because of pricing. That helps to cut down on the cost, and support local farmers. But once again, know more information about your farmers. And everyone, and when I say everyone, has a reason to change. What we do as adults has an impact on our youth and the future of them, because now they are facing obesity as well too. And underlying once was adult health issues, which now are childhood diseases as well. So I say, stop contemplating, pre-contemplating, make a change for the longevity of your health and your life. Set goals, be precise, make them measurable, and stay on track with the changes. Have action plan, and be positive, realistic, and be achievable. The time frame to accomplish your goal, and be realistic with that time frame. Set your goals, make a plan, get moving, stick to the plan, and reach your goal.
Well, this is Jan Temple with the A. Philip Randolph Institute. Thank you so much, Catherine, for that presentation. And do want to get this question in very quickly from Valda McKinney, our president from Miami, Florida. She's saying something that does make a lot of sense. Gluten-free foods, that's been a lot of talk about that, but they become so expensive. So what are the disadvantages if you're not able to eat gluten-free? Is there a major difference in how a person would approach that?
Okay, you said if they are gluten intolerant.
No, the gluten-free foods are sort of being pushed to be a healthy alternative, but they're so expensive. So if a person just says, well, you know what, that's too expensive, I can't even afford to buy that. Are there some major disadvantages of not eating gluten-free, or is there something else that person could look at to substitute that, I guess, would be a good way to look at it.
So I would say if that's a personal choice that they don't want to eat gluten, because gluten is what's the protein that's in your flour. So the only choices, but I didn't really look at that as being too much. And it depends on a personal preference, what they say is being expensive. So only the other alternative choices would be to eat other items that are, that are not gluten. So if you're looking at the gluten, that's more or less like on your bread side. Is that what? Okay. Then you can go to using, yes, you can use like spelt flour, almond flour, and those type of resources to make to make your bread. And that's not, those types of flours and teff is not really expensive. I would say just look around, shop around, and price it out, and either on like sites like Amazon as well as the markets to see if you can get it. But if you do a special request, like go to Wegmans or somewhere, then yes, some of those stores, I would say, yeah, you're going to find that the price is going to be kind of pricey.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, did I answer the question? Did I help out?
Valda? I think so. Let me see if she's got something else here in the chat. No, it was mainly just that she had commented that her niece had actually stopped buying the gluten-free because of the cost, but I think the suggestions that you made would help in that case.
Yes, okay.
Catherine, I'm seeing a lot more, I think they're called probiotics in both the grocery store and the CVS and the Walgreens stores. What's up with that?
Okay, the probiotics we need because of the probiotics is like a healthy form of bacteria that we need. We have unhealthy and healthy bacteria in our gut, which plays into part of what we call gut health. And gut health has an impact overall on your health. So you need to get those probiotics in to have that healthy bacteria in your gut. And that is a whole nother extensive topic when you start talking about the microbiomes.
Okay. So do we have any other questions or comments, Jan? Okay, Catherine, so with the last, with the 1 minute that we have left, any parting words?
So I have this little quote because we always put other things first, primary before our health. Is to love yourself first before you love anyone else. Believe in yourself first before you believe in others. Hug and smile at yourself first before you embrace someone else. Your self-care and love is precious. And you can follow me on Facebook under Fit Nutrition, and that's F.I.T Nutrition, Twitter, Instagram, Google, and Pinterest.
Okay, and again,
And
thank you on behalf of the entire A. Philip Randolph Institute family and all of our friends. And next week, we will have coming from St. Petersburg, Florida, the Reverend Dr. Basha Jordan, dealing with the question of addiction and the healing processes. So please tune in again next week. And everybody give Sister Catherine a big hand and thank you for that wonderful presentation. And you can tell all your family and friends that if they missed it, they can go to apri.org, click on the tab that says previous webinars, and Catherine will be up there certainly by Friday. So again, thank you, Sister Brown, and we really appreciate it. We're very informative. Now I'm going to have to start eating those cooking those broccoli and make them so good.
if you need any help, let me know. We can have a cooking lesson. You're welcome. Have a great evening, and thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, sisters and brothers. Thank you very much.